you didn't do this just around men and women. You also did it when you became historical from time to time. One would expect, given your stature in business, given your stature in the economic transformation of the country, that you would have some choice words for white people. We're allowed to say that here. Please don't cancel me. But I found it quite subtle and deliberate in how you would state a fact as a fact, but you wouldn't interpret the fact. And then you would move on. And you wouldn't linger too long on a fact. Overwood said he wants black people to know their place, broadly speaking. They mustn't have greater desires. Then you would move on to the next thing, right? How black people were constrained in their education and where they could be educated and how they would be educated. Then you would move on to the next thing. Why did you make the choice not to express a view? Because when I think back to some of our politicians today who are very critical, say, of Utata Madiba, who was quite generous in his historical context, and they say, but he was a weak leader. Weren't you afraid that you might have been painted with the same brush, that you are being too accommodating in how you are presenting the narrative without being firm and giving a view as to how you really feel about some of these injustices that you were reflecting on?
At any point in time, not everybody has got the same information. And so if you take a 30-year-old white leader today, there's a lot he doesn't know of this background we're coming from, because he was born in 1993, right? And so the exercise there is to educate him. So educating somebody, you don't beat him up with it. Educating somebody is to bring the facts on the table and say, understand, for me to go to University of Natal just for BCom honors in accounting, I had to get the permit from Minister of Interior Affairs, Mr. De Villiers, whatever his name is, because I was not supposed to go to a white university, group areas ed. This 30-year-old doesn't know this. And so shouldn't you just put the facts on the table and say the reason we are now going this way with transformation? Most of this exclusion was legislated. And so we're now trying to bring back people into the system. We have to legislate against that exclusion. So even when we fight about empowerment, there's a lot of not understanding what it is. The ones who are my age, I don't have tolerance for that because they know it. But the young leaders of today, the foreign leader from outside of the country, does not have an understanding of what we are trying to reverse. And somebody is going to say, after 30 years, we are still reversing something. Yes, we're still reversing something because it was legislated in this way. And this act, it took us 15 years to finally do away with it. You have to educate people on the wrong of the past without accusing them, I think first, and teach them and work with them, because they have the power in their hands to be able to do it. He's now a CEO of Nedbank or Standard Bank, and so he has the power, he has the resources to help us undo this thing. But screaming at him is not helpful. Yeah. I think educating him is much more what you must do. So what you see as the calmness in the boardrooms, this is where the wars are happening. The calmness in the boardrooms is because you actually want to win certain resolutions. There's a resolution that must happen there that says we will have BEE at 40%. And for that to happen, you have to win the room. And you're not going to win the room with these nopkiris and all of that. Of course, when now you see a deliberate, racist way from somebody, there's no appetite for conversation. You must go for it. But I take the view that not everybody in the room knows what exactly we are fixing, including our young black professionals. They also do not know. Now, what do? We call them coconuts, we call them all manner of words, but she is 30. She's 30 years old, and we don't have this book on apartheid that you say, read it, and whatever. And so the best way is a conversation, a calm conversation, as far as I'm concerned. And I think for us in this age group of professionals, we've fallen back a bit because we are not carrying them with us, even these black professionals. We expect them to come and transform and do this and do that. We are not taking them back. We are afraid to do that because it looks like we are teaching them bitterness, we are teaching them, we are reminding them all of all sorts of things. So there is a particular way I think we must teach each other about these things. And this is both black and white, and this is the young and the old, because in the teaching, you are talking to people who have resources, who can actually help you transform. And your time is almost up, and they are actually going to lead bigger things. They're going to be CEOs of Anglo-American. You have to tell them what happened there. You have to tell them about the migrant thing, taking people from the rural areas to the mining houses. You need to go to that principal officer of the Mine Workers Pension Fund and say, these pensioners are actually coming from rural Transkei, but your asset allocation, your methodology is all about everybody else. Equities, properties, of course it must be like that. But think infrastructure also, because your members are going to retire there, and their cars are only going to last 2 years because those gravel roads have not been put in there. But your mandates are not talking at them. And your mandates must talk at your members of the pension fund. You come from that world. But our mandates are designed in the US, SCI or Frank Russell, multi-managers, they show you maths and things and whatever. You have to go back and say, my pensioners are from Mhlabuyalinga. Uzawurretire retire in Mhlabuyalinga. There is not one place of hospital there. But he is now 60. Isn't it that the principal officer, the trustees must go that route? Because selfishly you are looking at your own members. But they can't if you do not show them what happened to this special thing. Why is the country like that? It's not, when they say it's not investable in Transkei, of course it must be investable. Make it investable. That's your job, right? You are this quants person with your PhD in maths. Make it work. Just like somebody made it work to fund aircrafts which are moving up in the air, even worse, make it investable to go to Transkei, because it's our job to do that. But for us to get out of them this intellectual capacity, because it's sitting with them, we need to speak calmly about what it is that we are fixing. And so that's why you can't be bashing everyone, even before they hear what you're talking about.